Greg, you've been talking about the future of banking and finance for many, many years. What is your view on where we are right now, especially with fintechs and the role that crypto is playing in the future of finance?
I think the fundamentals have to change, particularly with autonomous banking and finance that's coming. We are seeing sort of net new infrastructure emerge on that front. But already today, fintechs are really dominating globally. The top 20 retail fintechs in the world have amassed about 4.1 billion customers over the last 10 years. Comparatively, the top 20 retail banks in the world have only 2.7 billion customers. And all of the growth, of course, is coming in the fintech arena. So, digital onboarding and digital acquisition of customers, digital acquisition of deposits, this is all really reshaping the economics and the way we think about banking as infrastructure.
And you're right, from digital onboarding and everything digital first obviously has changed a lot. And the idea of a bank branch is hopefully soon will disappear forever. But what is, when we double click on the role that you see crypto in particular or stablecoins play in the future of banking, how do you see that ecosystem play out of the interaction of banking and digital assets?
So we've just seen recently that stablecoins have surpassed MasterCard and Visa's card volume for transactions globally. But if we're starting to talk about smart contract development, this is really the foundational element of how we think about autonomous finance operating in the future. And this requires sort of net new infrastructure. So the old fiat currencies, the old core banking systems, these really aren't fit for purpose for the type of autonomous banking and finance that we need to build the smart economies of the future. And this is sort of the foundational element of what's coming next, right?
So let's actually, I want to focus on this autonomous banking you mentioned with, I guess, the smart contracts and crypto playing a pivotal role in it. What impact do you think it will have on the current financial system if and when we have the rise of autonomous banking, as you call it?
So there's going to be a huge amount of effort in traditional banking to try and interface with smart contracting. We see obviously players like JP Morgan and others creating their own coins. We see Circle and Mastercard's partnership, etc. There's a lot of effort right now to sort of create a bridge between those two systems. But the reality is, what we have historically called decentralized finance, DeFi, is what TradFi will essentially have to become relevant for autonomous finance. When I talk about autonomous finance, I'm talking about the autonomous operation of banking and finance that supports all of the AI-driven, agentic-driven systems that we need, whether that's supply chain automation, whether it's dark factories, autonomous factories, whether it's drones delivering packages, or, your self-driving car, delivering you to your destination. These are all components of this sort of autonomous world that we're building, and we need fit-for-purpose finance and banking that is capable of existing in that world. You can't have batch-based payment systems and that type of legacy infrastructure running this real-time autonomous capabilities. That's why if we look around the world today, even when it comes to payments, all of the fastest growing payments networks are real-time payments networks. PIX in Brazil, UPI layer in India, the mobile commerce layer in China, etc. This is essentially this net new infrastructure we're building that's capable of real-time agentic AI-based payments.
But this infrastructure you're talking about, Brett, do you even believe the legacy financial system can even transform itself? Obviously, you've been talking about the impact of fintech on the future of banking and for a decade now. And I still get my bank ask me to go in person, or they were asking for wet signatures, they ask for proof of addresses. We may have all overestimated the capabilities for many banks to adapt to the new reality. Do you believe that a new banking system could involve the old players changing, or be basically completely some of the new players coming in, either fintechs, crypto firms, and basically completely taking over the legacy banks?
That's really reshaping the way we think of what is a bank. So today, if you look at the top 50 fastest growing financial institutions in the world, there's not one traditional player amongst them. So you've got to translate that to market share shift. Now, 10 years ago, we would say, well, these fintech players, they're not yet profitable. They're only growing so rapidly because they're small, or they can't manage risk as good as the traditional players. But all of that's false, right? Because now we've seen that sort of play out. So what's left is the big banks sort of, their only defense right now is, yes, but they don't have the asset base. They don't have the asset size of the big players. But my question is to, bank boards and executives today is, how is your asset size going to help you become an AI relevant bank for this, what's coming, the next generation? And that is sort of, I think, the key problem. You need technical and cultural agility to be able to make that transformation. And I think, there's certainly less than 10% of the banks in the world that we see, traditional large players, who are going to be able to make that leap. Because it's a just different approach and different competence.
And Brett, we have 30 seconds left, but you mentioned that 10% of banks have the agility to be able to transition. There's a lot of people that work in finance, many bankers listening to the show. As a futurist, if there's one piece of advice you have for people working in finance, listening to the show, knowing what you know about what the future of finance may look like, what's your advice to them?
So I always get asked, I'm sure you do, who's the best bank in the world that we should copy who does this really well? Is it JP Morgan or DBS? And I'm like, you're asking the wrong question. To survive this transition, you have to be a technology company. So look at Nubank, look at WeBank, look at Ant Group. That is the template for what you need to become. And that requires you to forget everything you knew about banking in the past and become a digital-first organization.
I love it. Thank you very much. That was author and futurist Brett King. Brett, thanks for joining us today. Very interesting in what's happening in the future of finance.